Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Coaching Think Talk. This is Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines, and this is coaching for a healthy mind space. So, this coaching conversation that we have for this afternoon is for individuals who are experiencing uncertainty and overwhelm in their lives because of some negative and unhealthy thought patterns that they are battling in their mind. And it is my desire to help them break free from these thinking patterns through the renewing of their minds so that they can live full and abundant lives as they journey their purposes. So I'd like to thank you for joining me live today, and please leave your digital footprint by letting me know where you are watching me from. Do tag family and other friends who you think will be benefit who will benefit a lot from our conversation this afternoon. And also feel free to share this video. Do help me circulate this so that more people will be reached by the message and more people will learn from what I will be sharing in this session. And if this is your first time to see this video, you just happen to stumble upon this is actually being live streamed through the Facebook page of Life Coach Philippines and simultaneous at YouTube channel Coach AI Connect. So if you are new to to these platforms and also to our accounts, please like, follow, and subscribe to our pages. And if you happen to just catch this on a replay, don't forget to key in hashtag replay so that we would know. Um, Allow me to introduce myself for a bit. I am, as I mentioned earlier, I am Coach Maan Lamorena, and I am a certified co-actively co-create life coach. I am also a certified mental toughness coach, and I am a scholar of the 6 steps to 6-figure public speaking career training by Master Coach A. So if you want to know more about public speaking, it's something that terrifies you. The idea of going out there, putting yourself out there, then I really would like to invite you to join the 5 Minute Talk Club. It's a Facebook community wherein we have fun. We have fun by mastering the 5 minute talk formula. So you can just join that Facebook group. Every Tuesday, we have this 5 minute talk club match up where people just go up there and share their message good for 5 minutes. So if you want to know more about that formula and you want to master it, do join this community. And aside from being a coach and a scholar of this public speaking training, I am also a wife and a mother to a 4-year-old daughter. So that's about me. I have also created this Facebook group. It's called You Renewed, and it's a Facebook community wherein I share thoughts and ideas on how we can overcome these negative thought patterns that we have in our minds. And if this is something that you want to know more of or you are passionate about, do join me in this group. Um, there are a lot of people who are all sharing their ideas there. And if you want to reach me, feel free to reach me at my Coach Maan Facebook page. So I hope you can also like and follow it. And I do hope that I will connect with you one of these days. So for our conversation today, I also would like to encourage you to share your thoughts, whatever it is that that came up to your mind, any insights or learnings that you get from the conversation this afternoon. Kindly share it. Just include these hashtags, hashtag pack my bag moment and hashtag coaching TikTok so that the message and learnings from today may reach more people. So again, thank you for those who are watching with me. I really appreciate you taking the time this rainy. Well, in our place in Mindanao, in Jensen, it's quite rainy. So this rainy afternoon, thank you for being here. And today is actually the third installment of my anxiety series. So I've been sharing about anxiety or anxious emotions for the past 3 weeks. In the first week, I talked about the 4 common misconceptions about anxiety. And then last week, I also shared the kinds of self-talk that trigger the anxious emotions that we have. And today, I would like to share with you 7 habits to overcome anxious emotions. Okay, so I know there are a lot of other habits that you can cultivate, but these are just I will just be sharing seven for today. But first, let us define what is anxiety. So, from the Oxford Dictionary definition, anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So, that's the Oxford Dictionary definition. Of course, there's also the American Psychological Association, and this is what they say about anxiety. It's an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. And people with anxiety disorders usually have recurring intrusive thoughts or concerns. So, you know, um, anxiety is actually one of the most prominent mental health condition in the world. All of us experience anxiety. We go through anxiety. It's an emotion that at least more than once in our life we will go through, and it can range from severity, from person to person. For some, it can be just just short split second anxious emotions. For others, it can be longer, and some struggle with it consistently, while others, it comes once in a while and only triggered by certain life events. But at the end of the day, this is something that all of us experience. And when this happens, when we experience anxious emotions, aside from the worries, fears, and other thoughts that can cloud our thinking and our judgment and our decision making, when we have anxious emotions, it can rob us of peace of mind. At the end of the day, what attacks us when we have these anxious emotions is our peace of mind. We lose it, of course. We lose it. And the thing with that is, when you think about it, it's already stressful to deal with deadlines, with work, relationships on a normal basis. When you're not anxious, when you're not scared, when you're not worried, there's already that stress that you're dealing with. But add to that your anxious emotions, your worries, your stress, then all the more difficult for our minds to process, to move, to make decisions, and feel good overall. Diba? So at times, there are people who experience it, and for them, their anxious emotions can be debilitating. Some of them, they cannot really move. They're stuck. And the thing with that is, because it robs us of our peace of mind, when we are anxious, that's the thing that we crave the most. We want that because we know that when you have that peace of mind, you're able to, even if you are overwhelmed by certain things, you are overwhelmed by your emotions, by the situation around you, when you have that peace of mind, you know that there's something that you can anchor on. And the thing with peace of mind is that you don't just find it immediately. For others, it's very, very difficult for them to get it. It takes a lot to get that, because peace of mind must be cultivated intentionally. It has to be cultivated intentionally. There has to be that active part in finding that peace of mind. And it comes from creating and cultivating good habits, of course. That's how you get it. It doesn't just come to you immediately for most of the circumstances. It comes through the cultivation of habits that you do, and you practice consistently, and every single day you do that. So that's why it's very important that, I'm mentioning this because, of course, anxiety will always be there, but it's also all the more important for us to understand that while it's going to be there, we can combat it. There is a way for us to deal with it, to overcome with it. It might not go away permanently, but when we experience it, there is a way for us to handle and get a hold of everything. So, just to share what Wayne Dyer said, um, he said that peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. So, if you want to cultivate a calmer, more peaceful mind, even with all these anxieties and overwhelming things surrounding you, try to cultivate the 7 habits I will share, and this would be a good place for you to start in handling your anxious emotions. So the first habit that you need to cultivate is talk about how you feel. You know, many times I remember when I was younger, when there's something that you really want to say, some of my elder relatives would tell me, "You have to keep quiet. Ay, wag mo nang sabihin yan. Tahimik ka na lang. Tanggapin mo na lang." And for others, it works. But really, um, it's an emotion. When you don't talk about how you feel, there's also a part of you that's suppressing it and denying its existence. And when you constantly run away from your emotions, or when you constantly deny its existence, you're actually teaching your brain that the emotions you're feeling are bad. And when you put that on anxious emotions, then it's like you're teaching your brain to think that, having this anxiety in me is bad, and something bad is going to happen. But, you know, um, that's the thing. That's why when you look at it, emotions are really neutral things. They're not bad, they're not dangerous, and they're actually just messengers trying to communicate something to us. 'Di ba? When you're feeling sad, it's communicating to you that you've experienced something bad. You're probably grieving or something. When you're happy, it's because you experienced something good or something that's delightful to you, something positive. So these are just messengers trying to communicate something to you. So they are not bad per se, right? And when you think about it, whether the information coming from the emotions is good, bad, helpful or correct, it doesn't necessarily mean that overall that emotion is bad. And that's why it's very important for us to acknowledge and talk about how we feel, because that's one way that we are able to fully process these anxious emotions in our heart, in our mind. And when we welcome and express our emotions instead of running away from them, um, it allows us to teach our brain to be calmer in the face of difficult feelings. Why? Because you're able to have that objective thinking that, okay, I'm experiencing this emotion. It's not necessarily bad, but because I'm acknowledging it, I'm able to talk about it, then it leaves me in a position to think about what I can do about it. So, talking about it and acknowledging it, it's really allowing you to have that bigger or the start of a bigger understanding of how you can cultivate inner peace. So if you want to talk, if you want to have peace of mind when you're feeling anxious, do not be afraid to talk about how you feel. Do not hide it. Talk it out. Acknowledge it. Don't have anyone to talk to. Write it in a journal. Either way, the most important thing is that you acknowledge these emotions and you talk about how you feel. Okay. Now, the second habit that we need to cultivate is to use power language. Last week, I talked about the negative self-talk that we tell ourselves that only triggers our anxious emotions, right? And this is the opposite of that. You have the negative self-talk. Now you have this power language. And when you look at, a lot of research, it shows that the words that we use or the words that we speak out have powerful effect on how we feel. Same with the negative self-talk, right? Keep on saying that, then you feel bad. And most anxiety sufferers use negative words. And because you use that negative words, then it destroys the self-esteem of the person, and it promotes a sense of loss. And then, you know, it becomes a cycle. It becomes a cycle of using negative self-talk, victim words, and at the end of the day, because you keep on saying that, you start believing it, then you start acting on it. So, victim words, the negative self-talk. Okay, you're probably saying, bakit victim words? Sinong victim? For our negative self-talk, the victim is us, right? Because the victim words that we say when we say, I can't do this, I'm always not going to be good enough, I should never have done this, it's like you are dooming yourself to be forever the victim. And it only perpetuates your anxiety and your fear. and they create a negative, self-fulfilling prophecy, if I may use that term, that only results to more anxious thoughts and eventually leads to physical symptoms. So that's why instead of that, we use power language. We replace the victim words with power language. And power language means using words that promote your feelings of good well-being, self-worth, and how you value yourself, right? Um, an example of this would be for just to put it side by side. For example, a victim or a negative self-talk would say, "I cannot control my anxiety." But if you replace it with a power language, you say, um, I can control my anxiety and I'm learning different habits or techniques to conquer it. Or if um, you say that I'm never gonna be good enough, you use power language by saying that I'm good enough. That opportunity is just not for me, or there is another opportunity for me. So you replace it with something that is confirming and affirming your value instead of focusing on the negative. That's how you use power language. And the thing with this is that you don't even have to look far. You don't have to look for a lot of adjectives. You just look at yourself, look at your capabilities, and you affirm that. That's already an example of power language that can help you overcome, the cloud and the confusion and overwhelm in your mind. There is something in us. We have been blessed with skills and talents. Sometimes we just tend to overlook it. Find that and use that to anchor your power language on, and keep, repeating that yourself, affirming yourself, and eventually you'll see, that it helps you have that peace and understanding, knowing that you are capable, even when you used to think that you're not. Okay. Um, you know, you learn to defeat anxiety by replacing victim words with power language. So always remember that when you use a negative self talk, the victim is yourself. And no one wants to be a victim. So use the power language for yourself. So the third habit that we need to cultivate for this is to have a proper bedtime. Okay. This is very important because usually we take sleep for granted. Actually, personally, for me, that has been an issue for me before. But when you think about it, anxiety is frequently connected to sleeping problems. And when you are worrying excessively, when you are fearful, it makes it harder for you to fall asleep and stay asleep through the night. Usually, when you're worried or when you're anxious, it keeps you awake because as you lay in bed, when everything is quiet, that's the time that you're ruminating about the things that you've done, the things that you should have done, the mistakes, all those things. And it only spurs a negative cycle involving insomnia. Diba? It causes insomnia kasi gising ka lang, di ka makatulog. Tapos ganun lang din, paulit-ulit. Because you're just repeating the same routine over and over. And for others, actually for science and for a lot of research, they've also discovered that sleep disturbances or insomnia, um it can be a common symptom of an anxiety disorder. Okay, but we're not talking about a disorder here. We're just talking about the general anxious emotions that we have, but it can be a symptom of that. And that's why it's very important for us to really, you know find a routine that will help us combat that sleep disturbance that we have. And when we build healthy sleep habits, it can actually allow us to relax more. And it's a cycle eh. When you have a proper bedtime and when you're able to sleep properly, it allows you to be relaxed and refreshed the following day. So for another day, instead of waking up anxious already because you feel awake, you feel refreshed, then you have better disposition in facing the following day. That's also filled with a lot of its own troubles. So both your sleep habits and your environment is part of your sleep hygiene. So that's why it's very important to also cultivate proper sleep hygiene in preparation for you to have a proper bedtime. Diba? So how do you do that? It's as simple as cutting. I know this is difficult for a lot of us. It's cutting down our caffeine intake. For others, cutting down alcohol intake, screen time, too close to bedtime. So, a lot of those things. You can do that to help that. And when you are able to have a proper bedtime, it allows you to relax and to be refreshed. And that's the time, that you're able to have better peace of mind because you're relaxed. Nakatulog ka eh, 'di ba? Do not underestimate the power of sleep, of enough sleep. Because sometimes when we're so anxious, when we're so tired and cranky and we cannot make any decisions because of that, just having a short nap or the proper sleep can already do wonders in how we deal with our emotions. So there. Now for the fourth habit, it's to update your expectations. Okay. So you're probably saying, what do you mean by update your expectations? Um all of us, we all set expectations for ourselves and for the people around us and even for the situations that we find ourselves in. And some of those expectations, they're good, they're optimistic, but for others, they can be a bit pessimistic or on the negative side. And for others also, they can set their expectations too low, and for some, they set their expectations too high. So when that happens, when we set unrealistic and unattainable expectations, it can cause a lot of frustration. And when you experience that frustration, that's when it leads you to have anxious emotions. High expectation of yourself and of others can keep you anxious because it's like you have this. It's because you're like telling yourself that that you're sort of inadequate, or that things are out of your control and that you cannot handle them. And because these are the thoughts that's fueling that unrealistic expectation, it does end giving you anxious emotions. So instead of holding firm to these expectations, what we need to do is to be flexible. You know, um, if you want to, if you want more peace of mind, you must let go of unrealistic expectations from people and situations. Be flexible and adaptable. Be flexible, when the situation arises that your expectations are not met, and be adaptable if those situations are again not met, and how do you react to it. Because sometimes when the expectations are not met in the first place, then it wasn't the right moment or opportunity in the first place, and then you realize that there is room for growth. That's why we have to be adaptable. The moment that you understand that there is growth, that there's room for growth, then be adaptable to that need to grow. And we cannot fully eradicate naman our expectations, right? And they have its use every now and then. But the trick is to get in the habit of examining our expectations regularly, and if needed, to update them, for certain people, for certain situations, and definitely, most definitely, update our expectations for ourselves. Diba? Life and always, get the best of us at times. And if we stop setting unrealistic expectations, then we become less prone to disappointment, and we're able to enjoy more the things that happen to us, the situations that we are in. We are able to enjoy more what is in front of us and just live our life, fully and happy. So there. Don't forget to update your expectations. Now, habit number 5. This is very important. It's important for us to build and enforce healthy boundaries for our peace of mind. When we build boundaries, it can be difficult at first, especially if you're not used to doing that. But it has a lot of potential and a lot of help in reducing our anxiety. Um, di ba, we don't like saying no most of the time. Raise your hand or comment there if you're one who's like me. Ayaw ng conflict. So kaya minsan parang, we don't like to say no, we don't like to defend ourselves. Minsan yes na lang ng yes. Because we try to avoid confrontations and we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But at the end of the day, when we keep on doing that, we may not be hurting others in our viewpoint, but we are only hurting ourselves. And when we understand that we must and build and enforce healthy boundaries for ourselves, it can actually bring us to freedom to enjoy our relationships, freedom to enjoy our life, freedom to enjoy, finances and everything. Because really, when we set boundaries, it's not about hurting other people, but it's about being kind to ourselves. It's about taking care of our own needs. You know, it's about showing also that we respect ourselves and we value ourselves as well. Um, when you think about it, there are other, habits that can come from not setting boundaries, like people pleasing, or not not naman avoiding confrontations and not saying what you really mean. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, when you continue to do avoidance, you're not helping the relationship, you're not healing anything, and it only adds additional stress for you and eventually for the other person. The more we avoid things, the more we avoid making all these decisions for ourselves, the more anxious we become. So that's why it's important for us to take a day off. When we feel that we need to rest, to take to let go of toxic relationships if that's what it needs, to not overextend ourselves when we really can't, especially during this time of pandemic, where the lines between work and our home life has been blurred for like the longest time. Enforcing healthy boundaries is necessary for us to prioritize ourselves at times so that we can have that peace, so that we can we can just let go of that anxious emotions that's bubbling in our lives. When we enforce healthy boundaries, we're saying that we are as important as other people, and if not more. And when we set it, we are able to, and when we set it and we are able to enforce this, then we put ourselves in a better position to help others because our needs are first met. You cannot give what you do not have. And that's really the value of this. Want to not, you want to not have anxiety ruining our relationships, then we need to take care of ourselves first so that we can give out the same to other people and our relationships. And now for habit number 6, for us to have peace of mind amidst anxious emotions, we have to live in the moment. You know, um, we have to live in the moment. Many times we are so future oriented, we are so future focused that we tend to forget the present moment we are in. And for others, it's not just future oriented. Some of us are so focused on the past mistakes, the past decision that you should have made, the regrets and all those things. And we forget that you know, among the past and the future, the only thing that we are guaranteed of is the present. The past is already done. We can do anything about it. The future is not yet guaranteed. But the present is what we have. And we tend to forget to live in the moment. And that's what's causing us a lot of these anxious emotions because we're trying to take control of things that are beyond our control. We're trying to change things that we cannot change. And we forget that a lot of the decisions or a lot of things that we are looking for towards the future depend on the present that we have. And that's why to let go of these anxious emotions, live in the moment. Live in the moment, you know. Of course, it's not to say that you cannot be proactive and anticipate future problems, but we have to not put too much focus on the future. Don't have to put too much focus on what has been and what will be. You know, let us focus on what we have. Let us appreciate what we have. And when we do that, we're able to ease ourselves of the burden of tomorrow that is not yet here today. So live in the moment. Live in the moment. Last but not least, of course, we have to cultivate the habit of accepting things that are out of our control. You know, in reality, there are so many things that we have zero control over. A lot of things. We can't, like we have no control when the weather will change, when there will be an earthquake, when the stock market will crash. We can't force our spouses to change. We can't control how other people will feel. We cannot control a lot of things. But all that we can control is our attitude and our effort. And when we put our energies into things that we can control, we can be so much more effective. The key here is to strike a healthy balance of control, seeing that we can choose our attitude and behavior in regards to external factors that we cannot control. So that when we are faced with a problem, when we're experiencing discomfort, when experiencing overwhelm, we can ask this, when you're not sure if you're able to control it, ask yourself, is this a problem I can solve? Or do I need to change how I feel about the problem? Because if the answer is no to the first question, then definitely the second question, has to be changed. Like how you feel about the problem must be changed because you cannot control the situation. But if the answer is if it's within your control, then go ahead, tackle the problem, right? Live in the moment, do it, face it. But if it's out of your control, focus on changing your emotional state. Focus on changing your perspective of the situation in front of you. Deal with the uncomfortable emotions when things are out of your control. And when you're able to do that, then it gives you a bigger perspective that even if, again, you are anxious, things and situations around you are overwhelming, it is possible for you to have peace of mind. It is possible for you to have peace of mind. So just to wrap it up, the habits that we can cultivate to overcome anxious emotions is to first talk about how you feel, use power language, have a proper bedtime, update your expectations, build healthy boundaries, live in the moment, and to accept things out of your control. Anxiety, fear, worry can be challenging, but it is possible to win the battle against it by building good habits to cultivate our peace of mind. And it must be intentional for us to cultivate those habits. Sometimes overcoming these anxious emotions is a matter of changing our perspective, transforming our thoughts, and modifying our lifestyle. Because usually anxiety comes when we least expect it, when there's too much on our plates already, when our environment becomes too much to bear, then it adds up to it. But even as our anxious emotions come like a thief to steal our peace, to steal our joy, to, speak, to steal our assurance and security, I hope that we will always be reminded that the truth of the matter is help is always available. There's always a way out, even when things are overwhelming. we can focus on today, live in the present moment, and not get overwhelmed by these anxious emotions. To end, I'd like to share what Charles Spurgeon said: anxiety does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows, but only empties today of its strength. So choose, which one would you like to have? An emptied strength for today, or tomorrow, which is not even a guarantee? And I hope you'll be able to find that these habits will help you live in the moment, live for today. Find the strength to face every single day, knowing that your anxious emotions do not define you. It does not define your life. There is hope. So thank you. And I'd also like to invite you to join the Be Learning Society, of course. This is me sharing what we are doing in Life Coach Philippines as a movement. Um, if you are not yet part of the Be Learning Society, which is the tent maker of Be Learning Homes for Mental Fitness, then this is the best time for you to join. And not only will you get these perks, which is a 5% food and beverage discount from Decaf Coffee Republic, you will also get a full access to the Mental Model Masterclass by Master Coach A, which happens every third Saturday of the month. Plus, you will also get a 90-minute free coaching session from senior coaches of Life Coach Philippines. So I hope that you don't miss out on any of these perks, and you can contact Coach Rizal at 0917 586 1661 to join. And also, if you are an individual who intend to embark on a journey of becoming a certified life coach, Master Coach A now offers co-actively co-create life coach certification program. And this is a comprehensive approach to mastering and knowing about life coaching. This includes a 21 days of web-based learning, 3 days live coaching bootcamp with Master Coach A, and another 3-day live business bootcamp with the senior coaching team. So the program package, it also has other bonuses. So again, if this is something that you want to know more of, and you want to know other opportunities that awaits you in becoming a life coach, then again, connect with Coach Rizal at 0917 586 1661 so that you can already start your journey of becoming a certified life coach. And sorry, this is, yeah, that's a contact number there in the screen. And I hope that you will join us again for another coaching conversation this afternoon at 4 p.m. with Coach Tin for Coaching for Relationship. And I'd like to thank you again for joining me this afternoon. I'm Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines for Coaching Think Talk. Coaches like us think and talk like this. This is us from the Philippines. Love, bam, boom. Thank you. Bye.